Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the random and random between functions that are default to in Excel, and we're going to show you very quickly how to use them in Excel, and we're going to go over to VBA and how to use them in Visual Basic. So basically, the random or the rand between function are just like this. So if you type in RAND, I'm going to hit tab and just hit enter. Basically, this is going to create a number randomly anywhere from 0 all the way to 1. So it's going to be a decimal, right? So every time I recalculate it, it gives me a different random number. The other thing I want to show you is equals Randbetween. So I'm going to hit down and hit tab. You need the bottom number, comma, the top number. These are two parameters, by the way. We're going to talk about the word parameters a lot, so just get used to it. The first parameter is the bottom. So let's just say like 1, comma, 5. So a random number between 1 and 5. If I hit enter, first time it'll be 3, then it might be 1, then it might be 4, but it's never going to be more than 5, never going to be less than 1 because that's the parameters that I set. Now we can also use these the parameters in the cell values. So if parameter 1, the bottom is this cell, comma, and then the parameter number 2 is the top value, which is in this cell. So if I wanted between 10, comma, 30, because oops, I must have hit a comma or something. This number, comma, that number, hit enter. I must have pressed the period or something. So now it's going to pick one between 10 and 30. So if I double click again, it recalculates again 10, 11, 29, but never less than 10, never more than 30. That's the random and rand between. Now if you'll hit Alt F11, we're going to go into the Visual Basic Editor, and here's where we're going to have some real fun. So let's resize this little window here. So in your Visual Basic Editor for your workbook, you're going to have this thing called Module 1. And if you don't have a module, you can click this drop down and click on Module. See, I just created a new one called Module 2. If you double click there, they might have different amounts of code, but you can go to any module you want as long as you have one, and you click over here into the code section. Now, we're going to go ahead and dive in and assume that you're good on that. So in the Visual Basic Editor, we're going to go ahead and make a procedure by typing the word sub spacebar, and we're going to give it a name. We're going to call this one simply rand test and hit enter. And I hit enter a few extra times. In this area, I'm simply going to put the variable name my result, and I'm going to say equals, and we're going to show you first the RND function. This is a Visual Basic only function, and so if you hit the open parentheses, you see that it's going to allow you to just use the RND, just like we used equals RAND a moment ago. So if we hit F8, we see that the number is just going to be very similar. It's going to, if every time I loop through, I'm going to drag this yellow arrow and hit F8 again. Okay, I'll drag it one more time and have it recalculated again. So my result is a variable that contains now the number 0.289 blah blah blah. So it's, again, this is between 0 and 1. But you can also use rand between, but you have to use a worksheet function. So you have to use application.worksheet function dot, and we're going to use rand between tab. So that looks like a mouthful, right? If you can type the word application and hit a period, pretty much the rest of this is auto-filled. So you application dot, and as soon as you type WORKS, you can hit tab again or hit the period, and then rand will also let you autofill it by hitting the tab key or the open parentheses like this. So this is where you'd put, the number 10, comma 30, or you could use variables to take this place and this place if you want. But anyway, if we get our result now, we hit F8 and we have the number 26. So it worked, something between 10 and 30. All right, we'll see you in the next lecture.